Emma Handy on your left. Matthew Brown on your right. Magou Pyromancer versus Blue-White Control. What else we got? We got Jaden Klomparens top shelf with Teamer Delver against George Magou playing Grixis Delver, and then Aaron Barich, Mono Red Aggro. He's your reigning invitational champion. He can start getting those tokens around SCG Dallas against William Nehlsen playing Red Black Aggro. Should be good. Should be pretty good. This players will be given the green light, and we'll be underway here in ein Moment. That's German. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just giving that away for free. All right, here we go. Looks like it might be a con. You good? You good? Hollowed Fountain for Matthew Brown. Now here's a Faithless Looting for Emma. Hit 1, hit 2. Looks like Emma has very few cards.
I believe she started on 5 cards.
Yeah. There goes a Lingering Souls and a Young Pyromancer to the graveyard. A flooded strand there for Matthew Brown as we head back over to Emma. Looks like a Bloodstained Mire in hand. Could flashback Lingering Souls right now. Get a few creatures on the battlefield. Get this party started. The thing about Magou Pyromancer, especially if Emma knows what she's up against, you're looking for specific cards. You're not looking for a removal heavy hand in this matchup.
No, not at all. A point of differentiation here for Blue-White versus Jeskai Control, the Bolts, of course, and Electrolyze among them. And those are some pretty potent cards against Magou Pyromancer. I think Blue-White has a tougher time here than it does against than Jeskai does here, because Electrolyze can actually keep you up in the card count game, and Blue-White Control has to trade a lot of more resources to handle those kind of cards.
This is an opt. Matthew Brown, are you playing Terminus? Oh, yes, he is. 4 of them. Okay. 4 Terminus, Matthew Brown. That's why you're going to... I had a feeling those ops would be because of Terminus. I just wanted to see how many copies, but there are 4. And I'm doing a check for Serum Visions, only 2 of those. So there you go. Terminus is really starting to make its way into Modern now. It's a card that players like more than Supreme Verdict and Wrath of God.
Format's very fast. Plenty of cantrips to play stuff at instant speed if you want to try to manipulate that way. People do a lot of stuff with their graveyards, so putting on the bottom is a significant point of differentiation.
Plus, you know, some players don't like the interaction of Snapcaster plus Serum Visions on a turn tapping out when the shield's down, where you're much happier to play Snapcaster Opt on the end step, things like that.
I mean, people have even played Peak in Modern at times because Snapcaster Mage puts such a heavy incentive to play with instants.
An attack for 2 is going to knock Brown down to 17, it appears. Handy does have, looks like a discard spell here in Inquisition of Kozilek. So it's time to let that rip. Looks like Logic not in Matthew Brown's hand, among other things. He's going to sacrifice Flooded Strand in response to this Inquisition of Kozilek. Going to fall down to at least 16, potentially lower than that. Though Blue-White Control is a deck that is heavy on basics. Part of the appeal of the deck.
Yep.
Get to play a lot of basics, make your Field of Ruins quite good. 5 islands, 3 plains, 4 copies of Field of Ruin. You're pretty immune to a card like Blood Moon. Here's a Logic Knot. So that'll take care of the Inquisition of Kozilek, presumably, and it does. However, that is another sorcery in the graveyard there for old Bedlam Reveler. This is a Bloodstained Mire. Curious to see what land Handy will search out of the old deck here. Just going to be a basic swamp, and now there is Young Pyromancer. We're going to head back over to Matthew Brown now. Matthew Brown's going to draw a card. This is a Glacial Fortress. That is a Supreme Verdict. Everything has been cleared away. And against most mid-range decks, that might spell the end of the game. But against Magou Pyromancer, it's not even close.
Although, you know, Handy's still not with a whole lot of tools to work with here. And that's, you know, a consequence of mulliganing to 5 cards.
Here's Faithless Looting. Bloodstained Mire, Thoughtseize the draws. couple of cards will be going to the graveyard here in just a moment.
Well, this is not a bad setup here for Handy. If she wants to keep land number 4, play a Thoughtseize, gets her hand empty outside of a Bedlam Reveler for next turn.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad, especially if Brown's hand's a little light. You take his best card, and if he doesn't have a counterspell or some big source of card advantage, then it's Bedlam Reveler against whatever his leftovers are.
This will be a Thoughtseize here. There's a Blood Crypt to search for with the fetch land. I see a hand with Snapcaster Mage Path X on just a couple of lands, so not a lot going on here for Matthew Brown.
Yeah, I mean, this is really good news for Handy. Now Brown has a path to answer the Bedlam Reveler, but the rest of his hand's land, and Handy gets to look at 3 more cards next turn.
I think Handy has 4 sorceries in the graveyard. I think. Oh, a couple of now 2 Bedlam Revelers in the hand now. Okay, so it's going to be Faithless Looting. Draw 2. One is a Blackcleave Cliffs. The second one is a Collective Brutality. And I think you're definitely going to discard Bedlam Reveler. Now the question is, do you discard land or Brutality? Looks like this question's being answered for me right now.
Well, you can't cast the Brutality this turn unless you keep the land, and you want to keep 1 Bedlam Reveler, so that's where you're at.
Well, I think the reason I might want to keep Bedlam Reveler plus Brutality there is Brutality is going to clear the way for Bedlam Reveler, and we're not in a rush.
Sure.
We're playing a lot of turns here. Now, there is Bedlam Reveler, because if this gets Cryptic commanded, I feel like I'm losing.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
If he has a counterspell for this, you're in a lot of trouble. And I guess you sort of get a rebate, too, because the Brutality costs effective 1 if you're following up with the Reveler.
Yeah. However, Bedlam Reveler does resolve. 3 cards drawn. Handy working her way back into the game. So we head back over to Matthew Brown, who will just play a land and pass the turn back. Time to draw. Looks like a copy of Kolaghan's Command. This is where this deck really starts to pick up. You can take a look at our bottom match there. Aaron Barich with his take on mono red aggro, and trust me when I say he is aggro, my friends. He wins game number 1 there over William Nehlsen. So your team on your left up a game in that mono red aggro-ish mirror. Here's Young Pyromancer. Resolves. Bedlam Reveler. Let's go. Looks like 3 damage is going to get dealt.
I really like Barich's list for what it's worth. That's where I would be at.
I've always liked his deck. I don't know why it hasn't caught on yet.
Because you know what card I think is kind of secretly stinky?
Secretly stinky card in these red decks that people play? What card would you think in the red decks are secretly stinky?
This is if you know my disposition, this is not a hard one.
I'm just trying to think of what's in the list. Is it an early creature? Or is it it's an early creature? It's probably like one of the 2-drops. I don't know, help me out.
Heart of Kirin.
Okay. There's a Jace. That got bolted. Not the first time you've seen that play in Magic history. Make an elemental token, too.
Yeah, Handy not messing around here and just doing that in response to the Brainstorm. Doesn't want Brown to be able to pick up a counterspell or something else to protect Jace.
Yep. I think very smart. Don't let that work itself into the equation. Jace is too good of a card. That's a search for his Kanta. You wouldn't expect, in the traditional sense of the game, for a red-black-white deck to be able to keep up on cards with a blue-white deck, but that's what this deck can do solely based off of Faithless Looting.
And, yeah, I mean, there's so many good synergies with Bedlam Reveler, with Young Pyromancer, with Lingering Souls, just a lot of ways to pick up extra cards. And also just later on in the game, like you start flooding out, and it's a way to convert when you're flooding out into real stuff.
George Magou did win game number 1 in Legacy over Jaden Klomparens. Grixis Delver up a game here over Teamer Delver. For those of you who may have thought that Grixis Delver is dead, that is not the case. Very much alive, as players have shown. As here comes Bedlam Reveler. Young Pyromancer into elemental tokens. A Path Exile will take care of the Reveler, maybe. Yes. Handy will search up a land. Basic Mountain it is. Remember, this Magou Pyromancer deck, basically just a black-red deck, small touch of white, not a lot.
Yeah, basically for the upfront cost of Lingering Souls, which doesn't even come up a whole lot.
Sometimes some cards in the sideboard, depending on how players build their sideboards, but for the most part, this is just a red-black kind of mid-rangey card advantage deck. Here's Kolaghan's Command showing you some of that card advantage by making Matthew Brown discard, bringing back a Bedlam Reveler, and making an elemental token.
Yeah, and I love the setup here for Handy. She's well set up to apply lethal next turn should the game go that way, and then the game drags on, then she's got a Bedlam Reveler to refuel with. Brown is on the ropes, but keep in mind that his Search for his Conta is going to flip next turn. It's possible he can grind through a Bedlam Reveler by just peeling 2 a turn himself.
Yes.
He has to be able to survive next turn for us to even talk about it.
I think Handy is weighing, and I'm not sure if she can cast Bedlam Reveler right now, but as it stands, not going to. Right now, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of power on the battlefield. Brown at 6. Take a look with Search for his Conta. Going to leave it on top, trigger, transform. So now I'll land in Escanta, the Sunken Ruin, and there is Terminus. Now things are starting to get a little bit more difficult.
I mean, if Brown can spin off a counterspell on the Escanta here, he's I think, a heavy favorite to win the game. It's a 1-turn window here for Handy to do something very good.
And it looks like Brown has access to 8 mana right now.
Yep.
So that means that the ability to search with the Escanta, well, activate the Escanta, excuse me, and find a Cryptic Command, of which he's only playing 3 copies. But if he's able to put that combination together, counter draw, something like that, that's when maybe Emma Handy might be out of this game.
Oh, Blood Moon is a huge draw. That's a great draw here.
It's a great test. It's a great test spell too.
Yep.
Actually, I'm curious what spell you'd lead on.
Blood Moon, because you
yeah,
lose,
because the Reveler if it gets countered. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good point.
And if this eats a Cryptic Command, that's still a win for Handy, because then the Reveler resolves. And if this just resolves, now we're back in the spot where she's favored in the long term because she no longer has to worry about Escanta.
We got William Nehlsen at the bottom. He tied things up against Aaron Barich, so they're getting ready to go to game number 3, but that means Barich will be on the play. Looks like a Field of Ruin activation here. I'm a little surprised by that.
This is surprising to me because I feel like the Escanta is good enough that it's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
I would just open on activate and try to find a counterspell.
Yeah, I would too. I'm a little surprised by this activation here. Mostly because the most important thing that Matthew Brown has going on right now is his Escanta.
Yeah.
That's the best thing he's got.
Well, he doesn't have anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got just lands.
And he doesn't have a graveyard that's particularly good, so I'm a little bit surprised by this because now, and it looks like maybe we're going to see another Field of Ruin activation. Okay. This will still allow him to activate Escanta, but not do anything with it. Looks like maybe Handy out of basics.
Yeah, she's failed to find on the 4 basics in the list.
All right, so there's some mana floating here. Looks like a red and a white are floating.
Yeah, I guess in this spot, Brown gets to insulate himself a little bit from the Blood Moon by getting a bunch of basics. And if he finds a Cryptic Command, he always has Bounce and whatever as an option.
Sure. Path to Exile, the find there for Matthew Brown. Well, now Handy going to have the opportunity here to play this. And finding a discard spell would be ideal. Now she's already played a land. A little bit of mana floating. Thoughtseize was found along with another Reveler.
Yeah, that's really nice here for Handy. Great turn.
Take the path. Reveler to reload. Fatal Push in hand too. Fatal Push, of course, pretty dead one here. But with a backup Reveler, the life is pretty good as we head back over to Matthew Brown. Brown will draw, and keep in mind, again, that Escanta is turned off as we head back over to Emma Handy. And the draw looked to be a Marsh Flats. Here's an attack. Thank you. Do you play the next Reveler here? It looks like the answer is no. Got it right. That's the second time she's gotten it right when Terminus has been involved. Pass that turn back. Let's see what Emma Handy draws now. Discard spell would be great to clear the path. Bolt is not bad either.
I would open on Lightning Bolt here.
I like this.
Oh, yeah, he has to.
This resolves trigger on the stack.
Right, yeah.
Bang.
Yeah.
Yep. Great sequencing. And that is going to do it. Emma Handy's going to win game number 1 here over Matthew Brown.
5 cards.
5 cards. Played a lot of turns. And I think Emma Handy actually ended up seeing more cards than Matthew Brown. And she wins with Mardu Pyromancer over blue-white control. To the sideboards we go, and we'll start with Matthew Brown and his blue-white control deck. You see 2 Dispels, you see 2 Dampening Spheres. You see 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Stony Silence. And we got 7 one-ofs here in Disdainful Stroke, Elspeth Sun's Champion, Negate, Lyra Dawnbringer, Celestial Purge, Timely Reinforcements, and the always powerful Vendilion Click.
I like bringing in the Timely Reinforcements, Celestial Purge, Elspeth Sun's Champion, Disdainful Stroke, and I suppose, I don't know about Rest in Peace, because Brown wants his own graveyard too for Snapcaster Mage, and it's not like Candy's leaning that hard on it, but you know, she has some graveyard interactions.
On the other side of things here for Emma Handy, 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Fulminator Mage, 2 Camball, Council of Allocation, 2 Engineer Explosives, 2 Wear Terror, Liliana the Last Hope, and a Collective Brutality. Notably, no copies of the Bridge of the Ensnaring variety that we saw Marshall Arthurs dominate SCG Louisville with earlier this year. What do you think of this sideboard?
I would bring in the Collective Brutality, the Liliana, and the 3 Fulminator Mages. Not like Fulminator is great in the matchup, but it's just another first of all, she's got a lot of removal she can just cut. And then secondly, just another good thing to be recurring in some spots with things like Kolaghan's Command and a way to prevent Esconta from taking over the game.
Well, those are the options there for both players. They're going to be going to the drawing board here. And they will finish shuffling up again. You can take a look at our scoreboard here. George Magou up a game here over Jadine Klomparens. That's Grixis Delver versus Teamer Delver. You see the bottom shelf there, Barich and Nehlsen going to game number 3. We're going to be watching game number 2 of this one in just a moment. And speaking of Aaron Barich, he did win your Season 1 Invitational earlier this year at the Berglund Center in Roanoke, Virginia. He wanted to be a soldier token. Whatever Aaron wants, Aaron gets. He's a 1/1 soldier now, and he'll be able to get that token in a bevy of ways. Patrick will explain how.
Well, if you attend any Open or Classic, starting in Dallas, August 18th through 19th, when you sign up, when you register, you get one of these tokens. If you can't make it out to the SCG Tour, place an order over at StarCityGames.com. $5 or more, and this will be included with your order.
Congratulations to our Season 1 Invitational Champion, Aaron Barich, who we don't have any time to jump to right now, unfortunately. So that means my stamp with match with an Invitational winner is not going to be hit here. Player has pregame effects. We haven't seen that yet. No Banefire for 5. Get out of here. Merit Liege, no. Tarmogoyf? Didn't resolve, did it?
Did not.
No. Spellcast and the draw step, no. Expedition, no. Card off suspend.
No.
No. Kitesail Freebooter fails to find. Miss. Attacking creature gets exalted. We haven't seen any Noble Hierarchs or anything. Card with landfall. No. Come on. Player loses no permanents. No. Stormcount of 8. No. 3 historic cards. No. Emrakul attacking. No. Collective Brutality 2 modes. Maybe. Stoneforge finds a Batterskull. Nope. Failed to find with that second Stoneforge. Confidant reveals a land. Cleansing Nova destroys all creatures. Fetchland finds a Dryad Arbor. Graveyard. I have still 3. You got anything over there?
Nope.
We missed anything yet?
I'm looking. Nope. Nope. Did Emma attack with 5 or more creatures that game? I don't think so.
No, I think it was 3 elementals and a
right. That's
yeah, Pyromancer.
That's right.
Okay. These bingo boards are dry.
Card has 5 or more counters. That
happened.
That's loyalty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then I have that.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, Chandra went up to.
Yeah, it was on 7.
Yep.
What are we working towards? You got anything brewing over there?
Fatal Push with Revolt happened.
You sure about that?
Oliver 2. He
yeah, you're right.
He fatal pushed a Pianalar.
Yeah, you're right.
So I am looking at Goblin Chain Whirler kills a creature or planeswalker, and player investigates as a win.
What investigates nowadays?
Tireless Tracker.
Okay.
Then distant second is probably Thraben Inspector.
Yep. Do we have a distant third? I
don't think so. I'm trying to. Declaration Stone doesn't show.
Play, yeah.
Yep. Tracker is that's my best chance.
Okay. All right. You didn't have a Johnny Adversary of Tyrants activated.
Wasn't Oliver's deck, but didn't show up in the games.
Didn't show up. Okay. Fetchland. Nope. I keep thinking the Fetchland got Stifled. It was a Wasteland.
Yeah. No one's resolved the Snapcaster Mage yet, right? So we don't have Spellcast with Flashback.
No, they just keep getting discarded to Thoughtseize or Inquisition.
Yeah.
Just all day. My board is hard to fill.
You got
This is not an easy board.
You got some stinky ones.
No one's casting Banefire this weekend, or Graveyard Marshal.
Yeah, I saw Banefire's. Is there some modern combo deck that generates a bunch of mana and then they win with Banefire to fade counterspells or something?
No, there's not. Looks like Matthew Brown going to take a mulligan down to 6 here. So while a mulligan is taking place, you know what that means? More time to sell stuff.
Let's go.
That's my favorite thing. We got a new playmat coming out for you fine folks for the Guilds of this playmat's sweet. For this Guilds of Ravnica pre-release exclusive creature collection playmat, September 29th and the 30th. Which, trust me, it'll be here sooner than you think. The name of this playmat, Patrick, is Meals on Steel.
Got it.
Okay, we got our hippo, got our bunny, cat, the kraken, and I believe there was a fox token.
This is some incredibly dangerous labor conditions that these people are working on.
I don't recommend it, not one bit.
I mean, this cannot be up to code. Anyhow, go to SCGPHILLY.com/pre-release. Ask your local game store to sign up today. They shouldn't be smiling.
They look happy. Most notably, the hippo, I believe, was eating a piece of broccoli, keeping it very healthy.
Yeah.
Hippo on a keto diet, probably.
Can't afford to risk it. Their life's already in some pretty serious danger being up 40 stories with not a single brace or
no helmet.
Mm-hmm.
They're just out there doing their thing. Ooh, Ancestral Visions came in. This is going to be a real card advantage battle.
Yeah.
I like this.
Seems like a great card for this matchup.
How many copies of that is he rocking? Only one in the main deck.
It's the turn to have it.
I really thought that card would be better once it got unbanned.
You just died too fast in these games. Just died too fast.
Jake's going to bite the dust from a Thoughtseize. You see the rest of the hand there. It looks like a Ghost Quarter, Field of Ruin, and a Serum Visions. So Andy's starting to clear a path for a little something here as Visions will tick on down to 3. Brown will draw. There is Serum Visions. That, of course, will resolve. So draw a card and scry twice. Will Matthew Brown. And he is taking a moment to decide. 4 Field of Ruins, 1 Ghost Quarter here for Matthew Brown. So great ability to destroy non-basic lands that may be problematic.
Another upside of playing only 2 colors is you get to fill out with a little bit more in the way of these colorless lands. And whether you're playing against Tron or just the shape of the game sometimes, Ghost Quarters, Field of Ruins are really good.
Hollow to Fountain will enter the battlefield. Tapped. We'll head back over to Emma Handy. Emma was considering maybe casting a Thoughtseize. It's going to be a Faithless Looting instead. And while Emma Handy does resolve that, I'll turn your attention to this. JD and Klomparens does tie things up against George Magou. Teamer Delver, Grixis Delver getting ready for a third and final one. Of course, Aaron Barich unfortunately lost his match already, as you see Lingering Souls and Lightning Bolt going to the graveyard. However, if you're fans of Magou, Brown, and Nehlsen, you're very pleased that our Season 1 Invitational Champion lost that match. This is a Swamp, that is a Thoughtseize. The hand is lands. Ghost Quarter, Field of Ruin, and now a Flooded Strand. Leads me to believe that Emma Handy is clearing the path for something relevant next turn, though there is a Collective Brutality in hand to be able to fire off a discard spell once again. This is a Field of Ruin. That is a Rest in Peace, which means Lingering Souls and Bedlam Reveler have just gotten a whole bunch worse.
Yep, and now with Handy not having access to her graveyard for the remainder of the game, she's got to kind of fight a more natural card advantage battle, and Brown equipped with Ancestral Vision that's going to fire off in 2 turns.
Yeah, Rest in Peace very, very good against Magou Pyromancer. Between Lingering Souls, Faithless Looting, and Bedlam Reveler, taking care of their graveyard, very, very important thing to do. Is here's a Manamorphose. Various mana will be floating. More importantly, going to get Emma Handy a new card. Hopefully she has some white mana in the pool for the Lingering Souls that was just drawn. Well, there's a Sacred Foundry, just in case she did not. And now here are 2 Spirit Tokens that have a long way to go. Maybe. Fulminator Mage is going to take care of the Hallowed Fountain. Interesting. Thought we might see her take the Spirit approach. So we go back over to Matthew Brown.
Yeah, particularly with Brown's hand being so land heavy.
Land heavy, and the fact that you know Ancestral Visions is coming, so I think trying to choke someone's mana here is very optimistic.
Well, on top of that, you have to expose your Sacred Foundry, and Brown can Field of Ruin it, and now your Lingering Souls can't be cast.
And I think that might be part of the reason that we're seeing, him sacrifice that fetch land right away, and now there goes the Sacred Foundry. Brown will get an island. White mana is now turned off for him handy, and there's a basic mountain. So maybe perhaps a bit of a misstep there for your Mardu Pyromancer player. Because you got to remember, no basic planes in this deck.
Right. Still 1 remaining Sacred Foundry. But
we will go over to Emma Handy now. Bedlam Reveler draw. That one's going to cost 8 for a long time. Pass the turn back with a lot of uncastables here. Collective Brutality, the only thing that Emma Handy can play. Lingering Souls, Bedlam Reveler, they're going to be hanging out in the grip for a little while here as Matthew Brown resolves that Ancestral Vision. So 3 cards from that, 1 for the draw step, and now he's all stocked up. Flooded Strand the land, pass that turn back. Handy will draw. Picked up an Inquisition of Kozilek. Going to start with that discard spell. See Brown's hand here. Disdainful Stroke looks like it's the one that's going to get discarded. Other cards in hand look to be Terminus, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and a couple of lands.
I think Handy will have tops a 1-turn window to answer Teferi.
Yeah, there's not a lot of game left to be played here.
Yeah, and then not quite ready to put a check mark on this one, but I'm about ready to put a check mark on this one.
I'm pretty darn close. Teferi is just a lot to handle. And there is Teferi. That is, of course, going to resolve. There's a Blackcleave Cliffs. And I'm not sure how much longer Handy wants to go, especially when you weigh the clock into the equation.
Might as well see some cards. I mean, I wouldn't play it out for very much longer from here, but
Handy will draw another discard spell here in Inquisition of Kozilek. But the problem's not what's in Matthew Brown's hand, it's what's on the battlefield as Teferi will go up to 7. There is a Field of Ruin. Again, one thing you need to do, especially when you're playing against Matthew Brown's deck, if you are playing Mardu Pyromancer like Emma Handy is, you got to make sure you get the most that you can out of your white sources because they're so easy for him to blow up.
Yeah.
Here's a young Pyromancer.
And it's one thing if Rest in Peace is involved in the equation, because even if you're willing to say, okay, well, I lose my white mana, the Lingering Souls that's in my hand is stranded for a little while, but I'll unlock it eventually. When you're without your graveyard, then you can't loot it away. And then at that point, you're drawing to very few ways to turn it into a real card.
Here's a Cryptic Command. Might see a little counter draw action here. You getting a Stamper?
I do.
Must be nice. Wait, hold on. What did Cryptic Command? Hold on.
He counter drew.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Terminus you. And that Cryptic Command stamp doesn't really affect things too much on your board yet.
No,
that's good.
It's not anything.
I'll take what I can get. Now we're going to the Colonnade.
And I like Brown's mindfulness of the clock here, too.
Yeah, if you're not going to concede, I'm going to get this
over.
game over with. I got Teferi doing its thing. I got Colonnade that can clock you very quickly. We don't have to play all that much longer. There's a young Pyromancer. I think it's important that both players are cognizant, especially if Jadine wins her match, and things do get tied up. Path to Exile is going to take care of the young Pyromancer. Basic Mountain will be found. Inquisition of Kozilek still going to resolve.
Oh, spell cast with flashback in the earlier game. Handy flashback
Faithless
to
Looting.
Faithless
Yeah.
Looting.
I'm getting decimated here.
But not really going anywhere.
Here's an opt. Top card becomes the bottom card now. And draw. Matthew Brown with a big smile. I'd have one too. Pretty much a runaway. That Rest in Peace was absolutely brutal. That's a card that's not seeing a ton of play right now, as here is Teferi's Emblem. Oh boy. Yep, that'll do it. Chase going to brainstorm with the Teferi Emblem. We're all done.
Well, I also Teferi Emblem plays really well with Fate Sealing someone too. So you kind of get in the both directions.
Oh yeah, you get it all, don't you?
Right, because you leave stuff on top of their deck they can't cast,
Uh-huh.
and as you're just mowing down all their permanents.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is true.
Or you brainstorm for gas and trigger Teferi, whichever. It works both ways.
You get it.
It works the both ways.
You see these players in their sideboards. It doesn't look like Matthew Brown going back towards anything, but Emma might be. Again, you see the 3 Fulminators, the 4 Ley Lines, 2 Camballs, 2 EEs, 2 Wear Tear, 1 Liliana, the last open, a Collective Brutality. If that Liliana's on in there, I'd be a little bit surprised. So I have to imagine that might be coming in.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like we're tapping out here.
We are tapping out. That means Jadine lost, unfortunately. So the team of George Magou, Matthew Brown, and William Nehlsen win this match over Jadine Klomparens, Emma Handy, and Aaron Barich. So, Grixis Delver, Blue Eye Control, Mono Red Aggro, take it down.